because of 5 consecutive seasons of drought in the Great Horn of Africa.
Those categories were cyclones Daniel and Freddie under.
That doesn't sound fun, not just for individuals but for the economy as a whole.
I think anyone who has a long way to school after a night of heavy rain can relate to that.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of the Rainbow Climate Change podcast, hosted by your environment prefects Malikia and Philippe.
Before we dive into this episode, we wanted to answer 2 questions that we got last week on our first episode. So I think, Malikia, you'll be able to answer the first question a bit better than I can. Why is dehydration a bad thing?
Well, dehydration actually causes death and it could lead to kidney failure. But Philip, I also have a question for you. You see, 2023 was quite warm, but 2024 doesn't feel warm. Why is that? It actually feels colder.
Right. And I think that's referring to how 2024 is said to be even warmer than 2023. So why is it feeling so cold? So the global temperature statistics refer to the average temperature worldwide over the whole year. So even though specific times like right now, it might feel a bit colder than it was last year, overall, it's still warmer on average. Thank you for all the love and support in our first episode. And today we'll be talking about the effect of climate change on weather patterns. Let's start with the statistics.
As you all know, weather patterns have heavily been influenced by climate change, but to what extent? There have been more intense and frequent storms in the recent years. Also, due to the dry, warm conditions, wildfires have become more difficult to control in the recent years. However, the effect of climate change on Earth and weather patterns was showcased tremendously in 2023. Average temperature in 2023 specifically was the warmest on record since record-keeping began in 1880. This caused a lot of extreme weather, which led to death and devastation. For starters, extreme heat affected many parts of the world, but significantly affected were Europe and North Africa, especially the second half of July. The temperatures in Italy reached 48.2 degrees, and high temperatures of 48.2 degrees was reported in Tunisia, and finally 50.4 degrees in Morocco. Also, because of 5 consecutive seasons of drought in the Great Horn of Africa, the capacity of soil to absorb water reduced. Therefore, there was increased flood risk when geo rains arrived in April and May.
I've never heard of georains before. What are they?
Yes, so geo rains are simply a Somalian term for seasonal rainfall. Since they are seasonal, they tend to come at specific times of the year, but here we specifically look at months April and May. However, aside from flooding, drought had other effects. In North Argentina and Uruguay, rainfall from Jan to August was 20% to 50% below average, which led to crop losses and low water average levels because less rain means less water. Additionally, flooding associated with extreme rainfall from the Mediterranean cyclone Daniel affected Greece, Bulgaria, Libya, with particularly large number of deaths in Libya in September. Another cyclone called Freddie, occurring in February and March, was one of the world's longest-lived cyclones, and it affected Madagascar, Mozambique, and Malawi tremendously.
That's a lot to take in, so let me stop you right there. What exactly are cyclones?
Oh, well, cyclones are actually the most powerful storms in the world. In a nutshell, they start in the ocean and feed off warm water at temperatures above 26.5 degrees. Then a cluster of thunderstorms suck the air from the surface up above 15 kilometers. When the average wind speed hits 63 kilometers per hour, it's declared a tropical cyclone. Cyclones are classified in categories. Category 5 is the most intense and the one that causes most damage, and Category 1 is the weakest and is just strong enough to blow over and secure buildings and crops.
So what categories were cyclones Daniel and Freddie under?
Freddie is under Category 5. Therefore, it caused a lot of damage, while Daniel was under Category 4. And these were very strong cyclones, as you can identify by their categories.
Being so close to the equator, cyclones might not seem like much of a big deal in East Africa. However, climate change is altering weather patterns worldwide, so we should not be quick to ignore their effects.
But some extreme weather events are much more common here. What are some examples?
Climate change is expected to cause more frequent and intense El Niño events. We discussed El Nino in detail last week, so check out our first episode if you're not too familiar with what it is. Our card is showing up right now if you are watching us on YouTube. For now, it's important to remember that the impact of El Nino varies greatly, even within the same region. So while some parts of East Africa face devastating droughts, other parts will be flooded at the same time.
Are there other causes of droughts and floods aside from El Nino?
So global warming leads to higher temperatures on average. This means that more water will evaporate more quickly, leading to much drier conditions. Higher temperatures also allow the atmosphere to hold more water vapor, so large amounts of water vapor will fall at once, leading to floods.
Scientists predict that, generally, droughts will become either less common or stay as common as they are in East Africa. However, the drier parts of the region are expected to experience longer, more frequent and intense droughts.
Exactly. Droughts also have a large impact on hydroelectric power plants that rely on flowing water to spin turbines and generate electricity. Over 80% of Uganda's electricity comes from hydroelectric power plants, so climate change could lead to longer and more frequent power outages.
That doesn't sound fun, not just for individuals, but for the economy as a whole.
When it comes to rainfall, researchers are highly confident that heavy rainstorms become more frequent and intense due to climate change, leading to higher water levels in our lakes and rivers and worse flooding. Floods are especially concerning because they lead to various bad consequences.
Such as?
First of all, floods make it easier for diseases to spread. Insects have more places to breed, so the diseases they carry can spread further and faster. On top of that, heavy rainfall stresses sewage systems, making it easier for public water sources to become contaminated and unsafe. Floods also damage infrastructure and make transportation a nightmare. I think anyone who has a long way to school after a night of heavy rain can relate to that.
Wow. Are there any other extreme weather events we should know about?
The ones that shocked me the most were natural fires, those that are not directly caused by human activity.
What caused them then?
Lightning strikes are the main cause of natural fires. Since climate change is expected to make storms more frequent and intense, more lightning strikes are likely to occur and potentially cause fires. Rain can help put out fires, but its effectiveness depends on so many factors that nature's fire extinguisher is not very reliable. So we've talked about a lot, and just like we did last week, we're going to have a short quiz, just going through some of the things we discussed today. Feel free to pause, answer the questions, and then continue afterwards.
Okay, so the first question is, what are cyclones? What are cyclones? The second question is, which year has experienced the highest average temperature? Which year has experienced the highest average temperature? And the last question is, what are GU rains? What are GU rains?
Now, from the last half of the podcast, how does climate change cause both worse droughts and worse floods? How does climate change cause both worse droughts and worse floods? Next question is, what causes natural fires? What causes natural fires?
Thank you for listening to our podcast, and I hope that you've learned a lot from it, and it has helped you to be more aware of the effects of climate change.
We'd also like to take this opportunity to announce that we are having a banner competition. So on our YouTube channel, it's kind of bland, it's not very exciting. So we're inviting all our listeners to design a banner. Digitally, it should be 2,560 pixels wide and 1,440 pixels tall, so 2560 by 1440. And we're giving you full creative freedom. Just send your designs to us by Friday the 6th of December.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, ask some questions, and we will be able to answer you. Goodbye and take care.
Bye. The blooper reel of the temperature all over. Oh my gosh. We literally have like 60 seconds before the stampede.
And it affected Madagascar, Mozambique, and Salawi. Oh.
Parts of East Africa face devastating droughts. Other parts will be flooded at the same time. What was that trumpet thing? That trumpet that just sounded. Okay, and so I think I laughed in the middle there.
Yeah,
so.
also I glitched too many times.
That's going in the blooper reel.
Goodbye and
Take care.
take care. Yeah.